Hello and welcome to another deep dive video from VAC Productions. In this episode, we will be examining Robert Calhoun's study on rat populations and how it relates to society today. In this episode, we will look at the study and the finding Dr. Calhoun concluded.
In the experiments, Calhoun and his researchers created a series of rat utopias, enclosed spaces where rats were given unlimited access to food and water, enabling unfettered population growth. This study was funded by the Rockefellers and the National Institute of Health. The study was looking to see how to curb population growth. Why mice are used for scientific research is simple. We share DNA and this proves to be helpful in experimentation. Rats and humans are similar in many ways. Humans and rats share in many diseases like diabetes, cancer, and anxiety. While these experiments yield insight into diseases, they also are revealing in behavior. This study was funded by the usual suspects in elite circles looking to trim the population of useless eaters. In a 9-foot square enclosure was something called Universe 25. Several pairs of mice were placed and in this small population increased to 2,000 in a short period of time. In this population social orders were established. Several factions formed and suddenly mating stopped. This study confirmed in early studies of the Norway rat population that these factions split and eventually ended mating. This resulted in the extinction of the entire colony. The results of this study is controversial because many have pointed out the parallels between overpopulation rats and humans, ultimately showing humanity is doomed as well. Dr. Calhoun began his studies on rats in 1947 when he started his experiment on Norway rats in Maryland. These rats received unlimited food and water. He expected to see the population to explode to over 5,000 in the 28-month experiment. The population was expected to reach 5,000 but quickly reached 200, then subdivided into smaller groups. These groups consisted of a dozen or so individuals. The same findings continued with rats mating, resulting in a large population. There would be a leveling off.
Populations begin to decline.
Here the rats became violent and separate into different groups.
The cliquish behavior erupts between the factions. The study showed that dense populations and overcrowding showed a breakdown of social functions. This shows a warning of the well-educated going to big cities for work, furthering the population problem. Coming back, Calhoun study. Dr. Calhoun changed the size of Universe 25 to 2.7 meter area. 4 pens of consisting 256 living compartments, and 16 burrows with food and water. With no disease or predators and plenty of food and water and mostly comfort, this lifestyle is on par with modern human existence. The experiment started with 4 pairs of healthy mice. They were set loose to start a new life. In the first 104 days, the mice did well in the enclosure. They began to nest and make their own territories. The exploit period showed that the population doubled every 55 days. The 315th day had 620 mice. Though there was plenty of room, the mice ate from the area. This behavior was communal for eating. They chose select areas to eat from, though each compartment could hold 3,000. At this point, the population began to drop and mating subsided. A social change had occurred, with 1/3 becoming dominant. The other 2/3 became less social. A slow decline began once social bonding ended. 2 groups in the male population emerged: dominant and submissive, and awkward socially. Females tended not mate with these rejects. When mating slowed, Universe 25 started to lose population. The change in gender roles began to show, with the submissive males being rejected by females, creating a problem in both genders. Those rejected males quit mating completely. These males no longer had any role in this society. They tended to fight each other instead. These are called beta males. The alpha males also got violent, and for no reason or provocation. This group would wander around and rape other mice, even other males. The turning of this group gay is common. Eventually, the beta males became docile and timid, usually the victims of the alpha males. At worst, they were killed and consumed. At this point, the females had to defend their nests alone. Females began to adopt more aggressive traits since there was an absence of protection from the males. Some females would stop nurturing their offspring and abandon them. Also, they would stop mating. This would have consequences. Does all this sound familiar? This was the stagnation phase. This was called the equilibrium phase. Over-aggression and passiveness. By the 560th day, population increase had stopped completely, and the mortality rate reached 100%. This is when the die-off phase had started. Extinction had begun. The young generation only knew violence and no social skills. This generation concentrated on eating, drinking, and grooming. With no purpose, these mice died socially, then literally. They were considered well-kept, but the final phase in the colony's life. Just as mice thrive on a complex set of behaviors, the concern for others developed in post-industrial human skills is vital to man's continuance as a species. The colony died because these skills were lost.